And while we're getting everybody in, oh my goodness, so many more people have signed up to try to hop in. So I'm going to go ahead and let them. Oh my God, so many messages of people trying to join. Goodness, Liz. Goodness, goodness. So many people trying to join. But while we're getting started, everybody else, while you're joining, please do share in the chat. Where are you joining from? Where are you calling in from? Please do share your LinkedIn link. Let's see. Some folks from everywhere. Ooh, from
Oh,
Brooklyn,
hi, Ashley.
from Philadelphia.
Kristen.
Oh my goodness. So many places, so many familiar faces. I like it. I like it. I like it. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. We are right. Oh my gosh, in Pittsburgh. We got two from Pittsburgh. I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I am so appreciative of you taking this time out. If you're on the West Coast of the US, it's the middle of your day. If you're on the East Coast of the US, it's in your afternoon. If you're like me, that's in the EMEA region, it's nice and toasty in the evening. But we're very, very excited for all of you to be here. To introduce myself, I am Esther Iyamu. I am co-founder of Geoffrey, of this company that was started by accident by myself and my husband. But again, this was started by accident. I actually have 2 decades of enterprise experience, as well as the last 4 years in entrepreneurship. And one thing that we found that was always there was, even though, quite frankly, my job had been pretty intense, the intensity wasn't actually from the work. Because at this level, as many of the incredible women in this room know, at this level, you're doing the stuff you love. Like, you've been built for this. The real hard part comes outside of work. And what many women, majority of women who often are the caretakers in the household for both the generation after them and the generation prior, they're often the ones carrying that, what we call the unpaid second shift at home. And it's more than just kind of coordinating a few things here and there. McKinsey actually shared a study that showed 28% of your hours are often spent on these administrative tasks in carrying that second shift. When you look at that over a year's time, it's about 500 hours. Now, in a work week, those 500 hours come out to 13 full work weeks. That's a quarter of unpaid labor of time that could go to time with your partner, or could go to time with yourself and getting in shape, or could go to your kids or your parents or your friends, or building that thing that's going to lead to further generational wealth. But the real problem isn't actually the time spent on administrative tasks. The real challenge really is, you might think, hey, I'll carry it. It's not that big of a deal. But what nobody talks about is the context switching and the cost for context switching. So another study shared that even 10 to 20 minutes of just quick, let me text the babysitter, let me quickly check on that service provider at home, let me just make sure the parents are okay and they've gotten in that Uber to get to their appointment. That quick 5, 10, 15-minute message back and forth means that the next 2 hours of focused work loses about 40% of cognitive load and focus. So the real cost, right, over time is it starts to continue to compound, especially at this level. And the cost isn't just, the hours of time, 13 weeks of work. And at this level, with the folks in this room, if you look at that from an hourly basis, at $200 to $250 an hour, and that is super conservative for folks like Ellie and Liz and Cynthia in this room. That is now 6 figures worth of labor that is out the door that could either be reinvested to get you back time or reinvested in other places. Yeah. And so this is the topic that we're talking about. And I am so, so thrilled that Liz Brown is open to joining us to really talk about this topic. Now, before we dig in and I get to introduce Liz, I do want to share, so you know, what this entire series looks like and what the next hour will look like. So let me know if you can see my screen. I put it as big as
Yeah,
possible. It's in
I see
PDF
it.
mode. Okay, good. Thank you for the thumbs up. So, as you know, again, our focus is on outsourcing everything but love. So we can get rid of that second shift or completely abdicate that second shift. Now, over the 4 weeks, and we are on week 3, we started out talking about awareness, right? So let's talk about what those hidden costs are. I've shared some of the stats with you. We spent our first week talking about that. Last week, we really dug into how do you operationalize your life like a business? Like, let's talk about the systems of what people have been doing. This week, we'll get to chat with Liz, and Liz is going to help us talk about all right, you've figured out the systems, you know what it's costing you. Let's talk about letting go control without losing control. And so Liz is going to share a bit with us about her incredible career, what she's done to be able to delegate and outsource everything but love, what went well, what didn't, and what she's learned from it that we can all take from that. I shared with you in the chat, and you can see that, but I'll share this with you here. Over the hour, I'll hand over to Liz so she can get to introduce herself. We'll go through a bit of Q&A chat with Liz, and then we'll open it up and let's just have a chat. Let's have a discussion. Let's get real about what people are seeing out there and how we can all do better at letting go control. And then in the last couple of minutes, I'll give a quick overview of Geoffrey because everybody here is going to leave here with 1 year complimentary access to a Geoffrey concierge with purchase of a Geoffrey plan. Now, everybody will also leave with a gift card of $125 to start off your plan. Do note that Geoffrey today, up until May 15th, is only available in the San Francisco Bay Area. So everything from the South Bay all the way up to the North Bay Area, with a small little caveat that I mentioned at the start. If you were here to join it, I know Cynthia was, that we found out a hack. We actually are also available in Atlanta, Georgia. So in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, you will also be able to have access to the platform. That is prior to May 15th. After May 15th, our app will be launched. And so it will be available across the United States. But unfortunately, our concierge service, which comes with Geoffrey Executive, will actually be for a fee. So everybody here will be able to get access to it for 1 year complimentary with the purchase of a plan. And then we'll close out. But without further ado, please, please, please do allow me to introduce Liz Brown. Now, Liz, she is going to be incredibly modest, but I have known Liz for many a years. She is a mentor to many. With all of the DMs that I received about this event, I was like, scrap my regular intro. We got to talk about some of these DMs of people who are so touched by how she's been a mentor, she's been a friend, she's been an advocate. I've seen others advocate for her leadership. She is a mom, she is a friend, she is a partner. But you know, she happens to on the side be vice president of HR for go-to-market and marketing at Synopsys. So, Liz, thank you so much for joining us. I so appreciate you.
Oh, my friend, it's an honor to be here, and thank you. I'm humbled by that introduction, and I'm seeing the friendly faces out there, many of who I have been fortunate to work with for years and adore. So thank you for joining on this journey, and thank you for inviting me. As you said, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, a cousin, a niece, an aunt. My nephew is graduating from Tennessee soon. Just shout out there. Um, and I think, did I say wife? I hope I did because he puts up with me. And last but not least, I'm, a friend, right? And by day, I get the privilege, the great privilege to be an HR leader every day. So I wear many hats like many people do on this phone and on this call today. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
We are so, so grateful. We have so much to talk about. First off, Can you frame for us? There's a lot of people on here who know you, which is amazing because I'm seeing all
Mhm.
the DMs that are faces from people who DM me wanting to make sure they can be on this. But can you also just frame for those who don't know you, like
Yeah.
what your journey has been, what your career journey has been?
Oh gosh. What you may not get from LinkedIn, right, is I'm a kid that started working when I was 12. So I've been a bit of a hustler, and that has been kind of the way I grew up. My brother and I both did. And so if you think about the career in terms of decades, I'm at a point where there's many decades now, and I'm grateful for that. But if you think about kind of that journey, I started in technology in my 20s. It was the first time I became a leader. I got married in my 20s, right? And in life, moving on to kind of the 30s, I became, well, actually, let me go back to my 20s because I think it's kind of important, that first leader gig. Um, that first leader gig was probably one of the most pivotal moments. So I grew up on the business before getting into HR. I'm not the cool, classically trained HR kid, right? So I grew up growing business, developing business, selling business, all the pressures that the business leaders have. That was really the formative time of my career. And when I grew up on the business, my first leadership gig was leading a bunch of guys that it was their second career in the military. So they had spent their entire careers in the military. Then they came to me, and I was 20 something, didn't know anything. Talk about control. I wanted to be perfect. I thought that that's what a leader meant. And so fierce insecurities in going into that role. And I learned a lot. They really helped shape me as a leader, as a person. It really was one heck of a good way to go into that first part of my career as a leader. And then fast forward in my 30s was really a lot of growth, both personally and professionally. In the 30s, I got married, late 20s. I had my kids in my 30s. I became a leader in my 30s. I experienced a lot of loss in my 30s. My husband and I were on a journey to have children. It wasn't the easiest, and so we lost some babies along the way, that I think many people do. And then my 39th year, I lost my dad. So part of that, time in my 30s was also being a mom, caring for two young kids, caring for a dad that became exponentially more sick, and growing my career. And then fast forward in my 40s, it was that changed a lot, right? That's really where to quote, I think my friend Ellie's out there, after losing a parent, sometimes unfortunately what people can do is they can double drive into work. And that's exactly what I did. I went all in on work, and I moved to another state. I grew up in the DC area. Shout out to, I saw somebody join from DC. So I grew up DC, came here to Dallas, and it was another state, another world, right? And I had two young kids going to school. I had a mom that moved down a year after my dad passed, and I became a caregiver for her as well. And I'm fortunate enough that I have an older brother I'm beyond blessed to have an older brother that helps with this, but it is a lot, right? And being of that sandwich generation. So 40s was experiencing all of that, growing my career globally, and I had shifted to HR in my 30s. And so I was continuing to grow in HR in my 40s, and now I'm in my 50s, and to quote Oprah, it's like the best years of your life. I remember when she turned 50, she was like, I feel like I'm becoming more of me. And I agree with that. I do. I feel like I'm finally at a point where I'm figuring it out, right? And I think all those journeys and lessons of things that I went through with career wise and family wise, it put things in perspective. So now I'm more evolving to become me, if you will. So that at a very, quick pace is I've had the privilege of leading amazing teams. I do currently, and it's, serving my team while serving my family, right? And my family being a huge instrumental part of my life, the most important part of my life. So, and that's inclusive of being in a sandwich generation, right? So, yeah.
So true. So
It's been
true.
a journey.
Oh my God. And you're so humble because what you're not mentioning is the incredible brands of companies you work with, from Cisco to Gong. I mean, like we could go through this in detail, but through all of that, that through line of how you've led, but also how you showed up for all the people you've shared now in your life has continued to be consistent. Me being a beneficiary of one of them, to
Oh,
be honest.
and right back at you. I'm the beneficiary of this relationship, my friend, for sure.
Goodness, goodness. So for folks joining, like we're talking a lot about letting go
Mhm.
control, like letting go responsibilities. Like what are some of the ways that you outsourced to be able to make room for the parts of your career and you were able to kind of let go those responsibilities? Like what worked, what didn't?
Um, so I think early on, part of my insecurities was around that control, right? Especially with my mom, if I'm honest with you, because as somebody that is privileged to still have my mom, it's a moment of like, no, it's my mom. I want to take care of her. That's the right thing to do. And letting go and actually letting someone else come in and help gives me the opportunity and the privilege, if you will, the opportunity to actually spend more time with her instead of being that caregiver. So that was a really hard thing for me, is because I was raised to workaholic parents. When it comes time to your family, everyone's all in, all hands on deck. There's no exceptions. You do not outsource. And so that was a really tough lesson for me. And I think it was a hard lesson for me as well, because I never asked my mom what she wanted. I assumed, right? And that's the real. I assumed that that was my role as a daughter. That was my responsibility to take care of her. And that's not what she wanted. She didn't want me to be the 24-hour, care nurse. She wanted me to be able to visit and shoot it with her and talk about who's wearing what to the Met Gala and like what's happening. The scoop is that's what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to be her daughter and her friend, not her nurse. She never wanted to impose on my brother or I. And I think that that's an important lesson. I assumed that was my position and that was mine to control. And that if I didn't do that, I was letting her down, which was a false narrative in a big
Ooh.
way.
Oh my,
Yeah.
I literally am getting chills right now because that doesn't even stop with just parenthood. That follows in through with your
Yeah.
kids. That follows in
Oh,
with your
God. Yeah.
spouse.
Oh, yeah.
On
Yeah.
one of our last session, I think our first session, um, we were talking literally about this of like asking for that feedback from those you love to ask them, actually, where would you prefer me show up? And I remember I remember talking about a scenario that I got so meticulous about being super organized about our home and trying to do like all of these things around our home because in my head, I thought that was the right thing to do and being the perfect
Yes.
wife. And
Yeah.
one of the attendees stopped me. She's like, wait, no, our husbands actually don't care. Like they really don't care.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Very true.
you
Yeah.
might be like killing yourself going in circles,
Mhm.
whether it's for a parent, whether it's for a child, whether it's for something else, and not knowing, assuming to your point that that's actually what they want of you. But instead of
Yeah.
getting that feedback to ask them, hey, how do you want me to show up? What would you
Yeah. I
prefer?
mean, so often I feel like, at least I'll speak for myself, guilt was my GPS, right? Like it was my navigator. It was what, like, if I'm not at, so going back to what I said about my parents working, 7 days a week, they didn't have the opportunity or affordability to take off to go to my brothers and I, like our sporting events or school events. And so my husband and I made the conscientious decision that we would do that. Like that really mattered. We would prioritize that. And at times that did have a tax on my career. At times it did have a tax on being present and traveling or doing things. And that I intentionally prioritized. But there was guilt no matter what I did. It was my GPS. And then I had to realize that, hey, it's like, who am I? What are my personal values? My family, my faith, my friends, my loved ones. Like, that's my true me. Work will come and go, right? Like, and I say that with respect to all the people I work with. It's not that I don't value that, but at the end of the day, that proverbial saying of there's no headstone that says, hey, I wish I would have been on a couple more meetings. It's
Yeah,
just
big
not
fact.
not what I want my headstone to say,
Yeah,
right?
so true. So true. So, this probably, in my mind, I would imagine, I know it did for me as my career grew and I grew in responsibilities, as well as like we get older and our lives change. Were
Mhm.
there certain things that, like, as your responsibilities grew, that you just had to be okay with letting go? Like, you just had to let go, control, and delegate. And what were those things for you?
Yeah, so I think early on when I became a leader, there was a sense of wanting to be perfect and the perfectionism and afraid of failure, afraid of success too, right? Like I hadn't seen that. So afraid of success was a moment of, oh gosh, if I do this, does that mean the walls will crumble? So there was all sorts of insecurities built into that when I was an early career kind of leader. And letting go and actually taking a moment to let other people, that their level of expertise or level of capabilities would far outshine mine. The older I got and the further I got in my career, I was able to pivot and say, oh, I'm going to give that to Jen. I'm going to give that to Ellie. I'm going to give that to Kristen. I'm going to give that to Patricia because they were far smarter and cooler than I was. And I could step back and celebrate them. I could step back and see their strength and also, lift them up as they lift me up. Right. So I think that I had to get out of my own way and be okay with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like, the hardest part, I think, and for the folks that are listening, if you wouldn't mind, if you agree or disagree, feel free to raise your hand if you agree. I think it gets easier to do that in our careers, especially when you're working at some of the most incredible companies that you've worked
Yep.
at. And you get to work with really smart people, right? It gets really
Mhm.
easy to say, all right, this is the outcome we're looking for, go do the outcome. And quite frankly, you're going to come up with a much better way on how to get to that than I would,
Oh, yeah.
but come back with
Yeah.
the outcome. How did you do that in non-work life? Like, I mean, raise your hands. I don't know if anybody else has also struggled with, like, it makes sense at work, but like in non-work
Mhm.
life, it gets hard to do.
Well, I think for me, and I'll use my mom as an example if that's okay. I really had to let go um, inspection, if that makes sense, right? And that was a little bit of the caregiver moment of letting that go and helping or having someone else help in that moment doesn't mean that she doesn't need me. Doesn't mean that I'm not valued. Doesn't mean that she doesn't see me. And that was doesn't mean that I'm failing her. And so, similar to the work example, I would say is that I had to let other people with their strengths shine far cooler and far better than me. The same way I had to let the caregivers do what they did and love and take care of my mom because their strengths were far cooler than mine on the actual medical side. But she's not losing the sight that I love her and I'm here for her. And I think that that was my moment of it's okay. It's okay to let go. It's okay to let somebody that has this medical degree or somebody that has that or somebody that walks her dog or somebody that brings her food. That's okay. It doesn't mean that I don't love her. And she knows that. And that
Ooh,
has been a journey. I mean, that's not something that you don't want to let anyone down, or at least that was, part of the growth and the guilt of GPS, if you will, right? It's all of that. It's all of that. So I think in that example for my mom and for my dad, going back to when we were caregiving for my dad, the fear of did I do enough?
mm,
That is, that was the red thread, if you will, as getting through that guilt and replaying that, like what have, could have, should have, and then realizing, no, I did the best I could in the circumstances, and I had the support that I needed. Thank God for a brother and a mother and the loved ones we have, and my sister-in-law, my husband, our friends and family. Thank God for them.
mm, mm. Oh my goodness. Really quick, we're going to take a quick pause because I have to ask this rapid fire question of everybody on here. And Liz, I'm going to ask this of you too, but we're going to
Yeah.
ask it of everybody on here. If you wouldn't mind responding to the chat, what is one thing you never thought you would pay to outsource, but you are so glad that you did? So, what is one thing you never thought you would pay to outsource in your life, but once you did, it was a game changer and you're so glad you did? If you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat. Um, Liz, I'm going to throw this over to you before we go to our last question in the fireside chat. What is that one thing that you are so glad that you outsourced and never thought you would pay for, but you definitely are glad you did?
How long do we have? Yeah. I'm like, how long do we? Okay, so yes, Christine, I agree with you. Grocery shopping.
Ooh,
I love to cook, obviously, hence all the cookbooks behind me. And I absolutely love to go to the grocery store. I know not everyone's jam, but there are times where I'm like, I just need to get the groceries delivered. I'm traveling. They'll be there when I get back an hour after I land. Like, this is heaven
man.
for me. It is heaven for me. It saves me time. I also think of just a variety of things. Like I saw organizing. I haven't done that yet. I'm dying. Let me know how it is. I really appreciate that. But there are so many life conveniences,
Yeah,
especially since COVID, that have
man.
just triggered my imagination. I'm like, yes, bring on all of
Can I
it.
tell you, Liz? So my old boss, Rupa Borno, she's at
Yes,
AWS,
yeah,
killing it
yes, yeah,
now.
yeah.
Um, she actually put me on to home organization. Can I tell you, it has changed my life, Liz. I changed my, I mean, and I don't mean
I
just,
believe this.
hey, go to the Container Store and kind of tinker
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
a
yeah.
professional comes in, measures your entire home, takes everything out of closets and piles and everything out of everywhere,
Yeah.
sorts it, color codes it, names it, asks you how you
Yes,
functionally
please.
move, what your
Yes,
life is, how you sleep, where
yes.
you move
I want all
around,
of this.
how you use stuff. Ask you, I mean, they got into like, do either of you guys have ADHD? And how does that, I mean, into details,
Wow.
reorganized our entire home functionally. Can I tell you, it changes how I pack. It changes how every other place we've moved to
Love
since
that.
changes how we organize. We have so much less waste. We save so much money. I mean, completely changed my life. Well worth the investment. By the way, that same group there, you've probably heard of many of them out there. Home Edit was like the famous one, what you
Yes.
get a book from,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
The
yeah.
ladies from that group, the Home Edit, is actually who did my home at the time. They left, started their own company, and then partnered with Geoffrey. So if you're getting our home organizers, the same people
I
that did our
love
house is the
that.
one that's. I
Yes.
mean, they
Okay,
are.
I'm all
They
in.
changed our lives. Changed our
I love
lives.
that. And
Um,
P.S., can you please come to Dallas? Just putting a
we're
shameless
coming.
plug.
We're coming.
Yeah,
So
shameless
many people
plug.
have asked
Yep.
us about
Yeah.
Texas. Please do
Yeah.
get on our wait list. We're
Yeah.
almost there.
I love that.
But
I
oh my
love that.
God, so many of the grocery delivery, house
Oh.
cleaning, annual spring cleaning, gardening, grocery shop. There's so many.
Mm.
Organizing
Home
cap, of
cleaning. Yep.
course.
Yeah.
So much stuff on the laundry. Oh yeah,
So
that's
much.
another one. Laundry and ironing.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
thanks so much, everybody, for jumping in for that rapid fire question. Let me get back to our fireside chat questions, Liz, because I've got one more for you.
Mm.
Um, if you look across all of the things you had to kind of let go control of and delegate, were there
Mhm.
any things that you wish you would have delegated sooner? And what held you back from doing it? And you talked a little bit about this around like guilt was being more of your
Yeah.
compass, but what were the things that you like didn't delegate and you wish you would have sooner?
So when the kids were younger, I think uh, probably their parties. I mean, I would literally spend weeks planning them and geeking out and cooking everything and loving the details, right? Like it was such a thing for me that I mean, I know May the 4th be with you was yesterday, but my son had this Star Wars thing and we may have gone a little bananas for that. I mean, we took this exercise ball and made it into an X-Wing fighter. I mean, it was a little bit like, I don't know, it was arts and crafts at its best, but I loved every minute of that because there again, it was love in the details, right? I probably would have spent less time doing that and more time being present, right? Less time cleaning the house, more time present, less time worrying about all the crap on the stairs and the shoes out. And don't forget to take off your muddy, cleats after soccer. All of that I would have worried less on. That's the truth. There's no outsourcing of that. I think I just would have been more present. Um, on the flip side of that, if you don't mind, I think where I would have, and what I see now in that as a mom of two teenagers, right? And my son's in college, and what I see is the gift of him calling me now and saying, "Hey, do you have a second to talk?" I'm like, "Oh, heck yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. Yep, let's have this conversation." I mean, I was just in a conference in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and we had finished our dinner, and then we were having a drink with the team. And he called and I FaceTime. He saw all the crew, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta talk to him. And so I think those are moments you cannot outsource. You cherish every second of that. It's like those are moments that matter. So he may forgive me for all the cleats, pick up your soccer stuff, pick up all your clothes on the stair, like all of that. So I'm guessing that I'm doing okay if he's still calling me, asking me to talk.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And so recent now from, myself, my husband, we're preparing to start our family, though that was not a pregnancy announcement. But getting that, seeing that experience from, hey, this is what we did when they were younger to
Yeah.
this is the payoff now. It just,
Yeah.
for anybody that's on that either has young kids, it's eye-opening and it also kind of gives a bit of permission, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of permission I probably would have given myself early on, for
Yeah,
sure.
so appreciate that. I want to open this up so we can have a chat. Can we have a chat, everybody? I see Cynthia waving, and some others. I would love for folks to come in for questions because this really should be a bit of a dialogue. If you've got a question, I'd love to get you off of mute to ask it. If you wouldn't mind raising your hand, and I can pull you in to jump in to ask a question. Well, Cynthia's got to jump. Bye, Cynthia. Good to see you. But any questions? Oh, that was to Patricia. Just kidding.
Patricia was saying goodbye and I was saying goodbye to her.
Oh,
That's all.
good. Just kidding. Okay, you're
Just,
safe, Cynthia.
oh,
But any questions at all for Liz?
I'll ask a question, Liz.
hi,
I could,
friend.
hi, friend. Great job, by the way. I'm learning a
Oh,
lot.
thanks.
So, I really could relate to your early age work ethic. I had the same thing, paper route, every possible way I could make money before I was legally able to be a waitress, right?
Yeah.
So, I am curious, how have you found that balance between the drive and the work ethic, and then also the realization that, as you pointed out, no one's gonna put on your tombstone, oh, Liz really loved to work and wanted to do more work if only, she was still
Yeah.
alive. So, any tips you have for that balancing?
I love that question and thanks for asking that. It's hard, right? Like if it's in your DNA,
Hmm.
right? And in my case, both my parents were workaholics 7 days a week. I mean, my dad was bell to bell, as they affectionately call it. He was a salesman. And so my mom eventually went into sales, which was part of, nights and weekends as well. So it's what I saw, it's what I knew. And it wasn't just that, it was also a financial thing that it was all hands on deck growing up. And that was what was expected. Uh, it wasn't talked about openly, but it was just we all helped each other out. That's what we did as a family. So I think for me, when my dad passed, it fundamentally changed me. I
Okay.
think that he didn't have a plan. There wasn't like he was just going to work until he died. And that I don't want to do, right? I don't, with all due respect, I don't want to sit in this chair and pass away. Like that's not my idea of party. I want to hang out with my husband. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to grow up. I want to get gray hair and all of it, all of it. And so I think for me, seeing that and experiencing that life-changing event is what fundamentally changed everything for me. I don't know if I have great advice on that. I think it just shook me to my core, if I'm honest with you.
But and so you're
Fantastic.
happy with your new approach, right?
Yeah,
And
I totally am. And I'm very fortunate. I have a great team. I have a great support system. I have built a personal board of directors that call me on my stuff when I'm doing something wrong. I have friends that when I'm not asking for help, they'll call me on it. They'll say, "What's up? What are you doing?" I can tell that you're distancing yourself. You're not asking for help. I have been fortunate enough that I've created that call me when I start dipping back into the comfort. So that's helped me out as well.
It's so interesting, Liz, how when you're faced with mortality, it kind of changes priorities in that
Yeah,
way, you know?
it definitely does. Yeah.
It really does. So no, I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that. I am going to throw in a quick rapid fire question for all of us to answer before we go back to Q&A, if that's all right. Um, and this might be pretty good for some of the tips. So outside of just outsourcing, this is more rapid fire question around trying to get your time back. So is there one thing you've done to try to get back the most time? So what's that one thing you've done that has brought you back the most time? I will say for myself, it has been slow mornings. And that sounds like, okay, woo woo, slow mornings. Sure, that sounds great. No, no, no. I mean, 5:45 to about 7 a.m. I control that time. And that gets to be absolutely slow. And that was a thing that completely changed for me from instead of kind of first thing in the morning, you're jetting out the door or you're getting to your
Mhm.
first task or you're waking up to an alarm. No, no, no.
Mhm.
5:30, 5:45, I'm getting up slow. I'm starting my day slow. And whatever is included in that time, whether it's preparing, reading through email, early workouts, something to do with our home, meal prep, if it has to be in that time, it has completely changed the timing for the rest of my day. I don't know if Liz, for you or anybody else, if you wouldn't mind sharing in the chat, what's one thing that has brought you back the most time? So, Liz, anything for you?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the boundaries, right? One of my friends gave me this test. It wasn't like a Cosmo quiz, but it was something pretty comparable where it was talking about boundaries. And she was like, "You need boundaries." And she called me on it once, board of directors moment. And I was like, holy cow, I do. I really need some boundaries. And so that's where I block my calendar. And I'm like, this is non negotiable. And it's something that I do not deviate from. It's like, this is my time. This is my geek out time. And I need time to fill my soul, even if it is to sit and walk my dogs or to have a cup of tea or whatever it is. It's my time. And it's important. I just need to fill my soul a little bit.
I love that. I love that. Some of the comments in the chat
Oh,
is silent walks in nature for compliment. That
I love that.
that is so golden. Just having silent time is just so golden. Um, Somebody else, meal prep. When you don't have to think about what you and everybody else is going to eat, like decision making time just completely changed. Amazing, 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 amazing. Um,
Oh,
any
that's
other
great. Oh.
question? What was that?
I said Ellie was some form of exercise, wake up early to
Yeah.
cuddle with my dog and work out. I love that.
Ooh, yes. Serotonin, very important. Um, Question for any other questions for Liz? Any other questions for the group here?
I have a question. Just, I mean, I have the privilege of working with Liz right now. I feel honored to be here today. I'm just curious, this is for Liz and Esther. this notion of perfectionism, it's like everywhere, omnipresent. And how do you all grapple, because perfectionism, is just it's a wish, it's not even a reality. But I know we talk a lot about, striving to get better, striving to be, for excellence and progress, but this idea of perfectionism, how do you all grapple with it? How do you work through it? When does it really kind of get you? I'm really curious. Best
Oh boy.
practices.
Oh boy, Liz, you want to take that one? I'll go after you.
Oh gosh, I was hoping you would take that one, Esther. Thank you, Ellie, for the question. Esther, do you want to start? Do you want me to jump in?
You know what? I have this saying. I mean, not that I have this saying. I didn't make it up. I've seen it everywhere. I had it plastered all over my previous office. Progress over perfection. And I
Mhm.
am the worst offender. Okay. I am the worst offender. And I think most of us are. Why?
Mhm.
We wouldn't be in this room if we didn't have high standards, right?
Mhm.
And those high standards come from being high performers, controlling your controllables, and being able to deliver, which is why all of us are here in this room. But one thing that entrepreneurship has taught me is, quite frankly, progress is much better than perfection. Done is better than perfect. Um, and that for me has been how I push through. Because if not, leave it to me. I will spin to try to get it just 1% better. But Liz, I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on. And I don't remember who said that originally, but I agree with you. It has been everywhere and I love it. I think yeah, the recognition of, hey, there's no way possible, no one's perfect, right? And I think once you realize that, it is eye-opening. I also read a great book, Glennon Doyle's book, that just talked a lot about perfectionism in that, and I just loved that. And I think it was a great moment of saying, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I even trying? Right. I think the other thing, just because I see Christine out there and she's in this awesome cohort with me. Um, there's such an opportunity to do pilots, right? There's an opportunity to test, fail, and go. And I think now in what we all do professionally, why aren't we testing more? Why aren't we trying more? Why aren't we, creating limitless motion instead of always trying to be the best of the best or perfect? I'm not a competitive person at all. I'm probably harder on myself than anyone. And I think I need to do more of that testing motion. And so that is exciting to me. That is so thrilling to me to think about that progress over perfection and testing. So I love that. And I know that as you have been an entrepreneur, Esther, that having that progress is huge. And you're killing it, my friend. You are.
We're trying. We're trying. It is so hard to go from 16 years working for a Fortune 64 company
Yeah.
and like a well-known brand where like, no, no, you have to strive for like 99.99%.
Yeah.
To, hey, you know what? We got to ship it out the door, even if it's at 50%. That is so hard.
Yeah.
But again, progress is so much better than being perfect. Because if it
Yeah.
had to be perfect, by the time it gets out there and it's your level of perfect, the world has moved on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you, Ellie, for that question.
yes, thank you, Ellie. Any other questions?
Yeah, one for you, Liz. Kristen, I also have the pleasure of working with Liz, and I do know, there's really taxing days at work, and still family life goes on. So I guess like Liz, in your experience when you've come to those days where you're tired, it's 7 o'clock at night, and your introvertness comes out, and you wish you could just close the laptop. Like, how do you keep going at those moments? When you have to, but you wish that you could close the laptop and step away.
Um, I think of you all. right? I think of you all, and my job is to serve you, and it's a privilege to do that. And so I'm like, I don't want to let them down, and we got this. And then I might run out there and go hug a kid or a husband or some rescue dogs, or I might, do a weird dance to embarrass my children and keep going, right? I mean, that's probably more factual than anything. That's what I do. Is embarrass myself all the time with my family. So yeah, it's the opportunity to serve as a leader. It's a privilege. And so I don't take that for granted. I really don't.
So appreciate you
Thanks,
asking that
Kristen.
question. Any other last question? We have time for one more question. Any other questions? I will throw out there. I so appreciate everybody that's been in the chat, that's been sharing insights, little tidbits of what you're outsourcing. Sandra, Jen, Ellie, Erica. Oh my gosh, Erica Gladden's on. That's amazing. So many great things that have been in this chat. Because, like, look, I think if we've done something right from this series, it isn't about what either of our speakers have just done. It is about the collective information that we're all able to share so that we can start shedding this second shift together. So really, really appreciate everybody sharing. Any other last questions really quick? No? All right, Liz, I cannot thank you enough for being so vulnerable, for being so structured in helping us really think through what the costs are of not letting go control, but also some of the things you've done over time. Um, gosh, there's so many pieces here of like not letting guilt guide you, of the piece you shared around um, letting others in, not assuming what's being asked of you, but letting others in to kind of guide where you can put your best kind of uh, best pieces of you to work, if you will. Yeah. And then I also really appreciate you sharing the key examples of where you've learned to let go control, what you did, what worked, and what did not work. So, Liz, I so appreciate you sharing that with all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everyone, for making the time to be here and be a part of this. I really appreciate everyone.
Yeah, so appreciate everybody for joining. I promised you that I would give you a little glimpse into Geoffrey, the co-sponsor of this event alongside Chief. So before I quickly share, let me actually share my screen so you guys can actually see it. Um, a bit of backstory in how my husband and I co-founded this literally by accident. We It started out as like a Google spreadsheet of services that us on our street in Oakland happened to. Oh my God, that puppy! I'm going to steal it. Us on a street in Oakland wanted to share with our neighbors. And what started out as a Google spreadsheet sharing services turned into the next street wanting it and being pissed that they couldn't get access, to then the entire 400 home community wanting it, and then it going across the street, and then to the city over. And now we're in the entire Bay Area, and our app is going live on May 15th, of which that will mean the rest of the United States will finally be able to get access to the Geoffrey platform. So first off, what the heck is it? So basically, it is not TaskRabbit. It is not Thumbtack. It is not your Yelp. It is fully delegating the second shift. So Geoffrey is a hand-vetted group of service providers for absolutely all of the things you could potentially outsource. But our new go-to-market model also includes one thing that most have been asking for, which is house manager. We call that house manager your Geoffrey concierge. And on the platform today, so this is our brand new website where you can actually go in and check your particular city or zip code to see if Geoffrey On Demand or Geoffrey Executive is available. Geoffrey On Demand is basically, I just want to book any of the already vetted service providers that have been bonded, are insured, have been tested, and I know I can have them show up, do a really great job at a particular time. But now Geoffrey Executive is where you get a house manager that basically handles all that for you. That's a text message to that concierge to get whatever you might need, whether it's maintenance, cleaning, walking my dog, I need a babysitter tomorrow night, whatever you might need, they completely handle. Now, I will share really quick. This is the brand new site, and you can kind of go in and find out a little bit more about how the platform works on our new site. But for all of us here, between now and May 15th, all attendees from the Chief series are going to get access to our Geoffrey Concierge for 1 year complimentary for any of our subscription packages that are purchased before May 15th. Now, caveat, we are only in the Bay Area right now, and don't tell anybody, also Atlanta. But we are trying to get to as many of the cities that are on our wait list as soon as possible. Now, as I mentioned, there are two, I'm going to close this really quick. There are either on-demand services that are available to everybody. And so let me let it go here. And we break up these services basically into all things for your home. Call it home cleaning. I need an electrician. I need my air ducts cleaned. I am going to be out of town and we are trash taken out to the curb and brought back because God forbid I miss that again for another week. To pet services, to personal services, goodness gracious, I need a personal trainer or even just some personal assistant hours for my dry clean picked up. To family services, needing a babysitter, or I need our home baby proof before I get home because we have not figured that out. And our toddler is already running around the house. So those are all of our on-demand services that anybody can go into to book. But our new offerings are the ability to have a Geoffrey concierge. And so basically that is fully delegating the systems to somebody else. So you decide which systems you'd like to outsource. You pick the actual systems, and your concierge then basically starts completely owning that for you. And so all of our current systems that are in there today between now and May 15th, before our app launches, all come with a concierge to be able to handle the entire systems for you. Everyone on this call will receive an email with your own gift card for $125 to go towards any of your plans before now and May 15th. But come May 15th, our pricing will change to on-demand pricing, access to all of our concierge or on our on-demand services, or Geoffrey Executive, where you get access to your own full home manager that's dedicated to your home. Now, granted, I mentioned this is a human, it is an AI, but they are tech-enabled to be able to bring you the best service. So everybody on the call will be able to get an email that will have the gift card within it. And you'll be able to use that specifically on our old site for any of our subscription plans that you'll see here. I'm going to pause. That went really fast. Any questions at all for me? No. Amazing. Well, ladies, I so appreciate everybody taking the time. I genuinely hope that the session was incredibly valuable for all of you. I'm so grateful for everybody sharing their insights and their rapid fire tips and tricks that all of us can now go in and learn and share with others about what we're trying to do here, which is get rid of that second shift and delegate that completely. Liz, thank you so much for being our leader here and completely sharing, honestly, your story, but all of your lessons learned so we can also do better.
Thank you so much, Esther. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week, everyone.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
day. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks, Alicia. Appreciate you. Awesome.